All right. So, before we get into too much, we kind of have to talk about what the term organizing actually means. And there's a lot of different viewpoints on this, but we're going to give a few different quotes to give a few different perspectives to kind of get us in the right mindset for thinking about this. One comes from a classic, which is Saul Alinsky, who wrote Rules for Radicals, which was very influential on many community organizing efforts over the last few decades. And he says in the book, we're concerned when it comes to organizing, we are concerned with how to create mass organizations to seize power and give it to the people, to realize the democratic dream of equality, justice, peace, cooperation, equal and full opportunities for education, full and useful employment, health, and the creation of those circumstances in which man can have the chance to live by values that give meaning to life. So this is kind of a long quote, but you get the idea here, right? The point of organizing is to essentially create democracy and to create a better life for everyone, right? To create the kind of society we want to live in. We're facing a lot of challenges right now, whether it be, folks who have trouble just finding jobs, just putting food on the table, just keeping a roof over their heads. People, it's hard to afford education. It's hard to get health care if you have any serious health issues. There's a lot of these things. And of course, we face systemic racism and all. You don't want to put just economic issues, right? There's racism, there's sexism. We're seeing, gender oppression and transphobia and things rise right now. There's a lot of issues that we're facing, and we want to create a better progressive type of society where everyone can live the best life that they can, right? And I think that's what this organizing quote is getting toward.
Yeah, and
Go ahead, Chris.
if you want to go back to it real quick, I think it's, we were talking about how we're using these quotes to kind of lay a mindset, right? And I think we can look at recent events, involving Supreme Court decisions to, kind of internalize, take this quote in and think about how we can actually affect change in our community, right? Because for instance, the big one with abortion rights, but Miranda laws got struck down, and school prayer has been weakened, and from what I'm hearing, there's a blow to the EPA on the way. So Roe is the one making the news, but there's been a lot of really bad stuff coming out of the Supreme Court, and depending on where you're watching in terms of what we should be doing in response to it, a lot of it is top down. Vote, 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 vote. Vote Democrat, vote Democrat, vote Democrat. But voting Democrat for decades hasn't actually protected these rights. It just turned them into a good fundraiser, a nice exploited voting, or a nice extortionist voting tactic for them. So if we want to actually change the dynamic, right? If we want to actually forge a new path, which people are very much, from my time working as a community organizer and a field director for a community org, I can tell you from the thousands of doors we knocked that, people are ready for an actual new path, not someone who's going to, do something a little bit different than what we've been experiencing, but something totally different. And what we've been experiencing, the tactics of, top down, at best astroturfed, political organizing has failed on the left, almost across almost all issues. We keep seeing it. So I think when, if we really want to create a society that has equality, justice, peace, cooperation, everything in this quote, we kind of have to have a complete shift in mindset, right? Towards organizing as the solution, bottom up, building power in our communities, building relationships in our communities, not hoping that the people who most of the time play the role of our oppressors will suddenly be our saviors. So I think that this quote right now in this time, when we're seeing some of the things that we're doing, and it really does kind of feel hopeless for a lot of people in many ways. Our response to that needs to be to radically rethink what we've been doing, because what we've been doing hasn't been working. And Alinsky, there's plenty of criticisms and critiques one could have about Alinsky's model. It was a very, confrontational, aggressive model, and it came from a very specific point of view. But this quote, I think, is really important to try to reorient. How do we achieve these things? We achieve them through organizing. We achieve them through, bringing our communities together. Not necessarily, and that can include electing better people. But if all we're trying to do is elect better people into the same two parties that built this problem, that created the mess, we're going to continue to see the same kind of slides and failures in terms of, matching what the public actually want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the key words to kind of take away from this quote are mass organizations. We're talking about bringing together a mass movement, like the entire community, not just parts of it. We're putting power in the people in democratic forms. And so democracy is the other part of it, that we're trying to build true grassroots bottom-up democracy instead of this top-down model that Chris was talking about. So keep those ideas in mind as we go forward with organizing here.